Well, there's my first sighting.
Looks like you're on the way to either graduate someone or examine someone.
This is It's Wednesday the 19th of June, and I'm standing in Broad Street looking at the Sheldonian Theatre. The university holds its main yearly ceremony today, ceremony called Encaenia, and I'm hoping to get some nice film of the senior university members in academic dress. That's the robes and the bands or hoods covering them. The ceremony is mainly about honorary degrees, and the university is going to give 6 honorary degrees this year. The person who you're most likely to know, I think, is Michael Palin of Monty Python fame. Oxford being Oxford, there is rather more to this than just honorary degrees. For a start, the ceremony is in Latin. Until about sometime in the mid-70s, I think, it was necessary for everybody who came up as an undergraduate to have a qualification in Latin. And the university does still use the language at ceremonies like this. There's an official called the public orator who writes speeches in Latin. So the honorary degree, the honorands, the people who are getting the degrees, will be addressed in Latin. And the public orator will also give a speech summarising the past year, which will be in Latin. That's not the only thing. As I say, Oxford being Oxford, it accumulates layers and layers of tradition. The ceremony starts, or Encaenia proper starts at 10:30 in Exeter, well, this year in Exeter College. which is just round the corner beyond the police van. And what happens there is that the senior members of the university, dressed in full academic dress, go to Exeter College and, as one says, they partake of Lord Crewe's benefaction. Lord Crewe, a few centuries ago, left money to reform Encaenia, which had already been going on. And one of the things that his money is used for is an annual sort of little party where the senior members take champagne, strawberries and peaches. I can assure you that I've never seen this because I'm not senior enough or academic enough. So I don't know how much champagne they get or what quality it is, but I imagine it's pretty good. Then at about 11:15, they go from Exeter round there to the Sheldonian there, and that's what I want to get on camera, but a lot of the route has been screened off to people who are not attending, so I'm not sure how close I'll be able to get. That's why I started this video with a few random shots of people in academic dress walking through the streets of Oxford. You do see people in academic dress at other times, but not normally such a high concentration. And those guys are either going to Lord Crewe's benefaction or going to the Sheldonian to watch the ceremony. Anyway, what was I saying? Ceremony starts at 10:30 with Lord Crewe's benefaction, the champagne, peaches and strawberries in Exeter College. Then at about 11:15, the senior members and the people being honoured walk to the Radcliffe Camera. Walk to the Sheldonian Theatre. And I think they'll be going sort of behind Exeter College up a little lane called Brasenose Alley. Then they sit in the Sheldonian as audience, and the people being honoured will be addressed by the Chancellor of the University and will get up one by one, have their hands shaken or whatever, and have a speech read about their accomplishments in Latin. I'll get back to that. Then that part of the Encaenia ends, and there's a lunch, which I think is at All Souls College, behind the Sheldonian. And then there's a garden party. And I'm not sure when that ends. I think it's sometime between 2 and 4. No doubt there's a lot to drink, and since every college in the university has excellent wine cellars, it'll be very, very nice to drink. And then quite a lot of the people who've been watching Encaenia or taking part will probably go and browse the books in Blackwell's. So you'll see random academics wandering around in their full gear. And then it ends. So that's Encaenia. I said that it's an honorary degree ceremony, and this year the most notable, to most of us, the most notable honorand is Michael Palin. I made a list of the others. One of them is Warren East, who on my information sheet was down as a British engineer and business person. He is associated with something, I think it's called Tokamak Enterprises, which suggests nuclear fusion, and with some sort of clean hydrogen outfit, but I'm not clear on exactly what he does or why he's being honoured. More to my knowledge is Demis Hassibis, who founded the artificial intelligence company DeepMind, which got took over by Google. And I think they were responsible for a lot of the early AI drawing programs and something called deep learning, which has turned out to be very powerful. So that's somewhere up in importance with programs like ChatGPT and Microsoft's Copilot. Then there's Nosy Okonjo-Iweala, who's the 7th Director General of the World Trade Organization. And that speaks for itself, I think. Then there's Anushka Shankar, who's a musician and sitar player, composer. And finally, Salim Yusuf, who's down as a cardiologist, a heart specialist, who's over the past 40 years done a load of work to prevent strokes and heart disease, find out their causes and try to alleviate them. And so those are the 6 people who are going to be honoured today. As I said, the public orators' speeches will be in Latin. And this is obviously a challenge because most of the topics that that he'll have to talk about when describing the honorands' accomplishments, there'll be things that virtually nothing was known about in Roman times. I remember one year reading that one of the inventors of the transistor had been honoured. So if you're a public orator, how do you say transistor in Latin, or PNP, or NPN, or makes electronic miniaturization possible, makes microcircuitry possible? I suppose we're fairly lucky in England because a lot of our technical words have Latin roots anyway. But not all of them do. Laser, for example, is an abbreviation. How do you translate that? Anyway, I'm sure he enjoys the challenge. I'm now going to wander around a bit and see what's happening. There seem to be people going into the Sheldonian. I think they're mainly audience rather than those who've been taking the benefaction. Okay, the procession should leave Exeter in about 5 minutes, according to my clock. Well, I'm now standing looking west down Broad Street. That's Blackwell's on the right behind the new Bodleian, the Aztec temple thing, also on the right. And I've been told by some of the university staff that the processants will be coming out of Exeter, that's just round the corner on the left, and up Broad Street and into the Sheldonian through the gate there. There are entrances to the Sheldonian at the back, but apparently they're locked at the moment. So Broad Street isn't cordoned off, though it does have a good number of police, and that's probably why. I think. They've come out of the side gate. Exeter faces onto Broad Street, and they've come out of the side gate. There's
through the years, who's had them? Margaret Thatcher got one.
People holding staffs always indicate importance, and there's at least 2 guys holding metal staffs, which probably have a special traditional name that I don't know.
Can we get in there?
Oh, it's only 12.
Well, we have to count the emperor's heads on. Yeah. Because it looks like we're not allowed.
I was going to say that's an event.
Is there anyone who's done it?
Bronze.
I don't discuss
You know, also to give them proper guidance as to how to read and stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I hope there's more than that, or that I haven't been given wrong information.
It's a mile to get up there, it leaves the line.
Right.
Then once you go to the top, it's just post down and all the way down. Yeah, it's a little cheaper for me.
Doing good, man.
Okay, watch the left end of the tourist bus. The red bus, they should come out from behind it.
All right, yeah, it's not speaking to you, mate. All the best to you. Okay. I'll be very selective. The issue is,
He is probably audience rather than one of the seniors.
graduate kalmışlar. Daha uzun olan.
You really see the inspiration of how they came up with it. It's really, really cool.
That is cool.
Especially if you're a fan of it.
I met Danielle so left me behind. But when we got together,
Yes.
she's not really a big movie buff.
Good.
Dragged her heels.
I just did that with a friend as well. He hadn't seen honorary, so I had to start. So I was like,
Well, Danielle was
No, davvero?
Andiamo un po' di... Well, I think that's it. I'm going to turn off recording for a bit while I wait to see whether anybody else comes out of Exeter. No, it looks as though that's it. That's the door that they were coming out of. It may be that there was another exit from Exeter round the back of the college, and some of them went up Brasenose Alley, which is parallel with Broad Street, but on the other side of Exeter. From pictures I've seen of past processions, I did expect more people. But anyway, that gives you an idea. It rather looks as though the police think that this part of the event is over too. So anyway, I'll say a bit about the history. Encaenia comes from a Greek word meaning festival of renewal, and is the same sort of idea as commencement. And I understand that in the States and Canada there are commencement ceremonies. And Encaenia involves the giving of honorary degrees and a general oration about the state of the university in the past year. It's pretty similar to commencement. It started off as part of a much bigger ceremony called the Act. And I'm not sure exactly when that started, but I'm pretty sure it was at least 1500 or earlier. Remember, this is Oxford, so traditions go back over, some traditions can go back over 1,000 years. And the Act did give honorary degrees, or whatever the equivalent was. And it was also a sort of yearly graduation ceremony. But it involved another aspect which is completely absent from Encaenia, and I think the absence of that is a great shame. But then I would. And that was a sort of satirical comedy element. That was the year that was. An official or a speaker called Terrae Filius, son of the earth, was appointed. Son of the earth implying apparently that he was a lowly figure who had nothing to lose by speaking his mind. And he gave speeches in which he might say all sorts of nasty things about anybody, including the guys getting the honorary degrees. In some years, apparently, his speeches were so unwelcome to the honorands that he got attacked and beaten up. And there are even instances of his having been imprisoned. There was a so-called Bocardo prison in Oxford, and apparently he was chucked into there. To me, this is actually believable because I've seen something very similar. I lived in Portugal for a time, and in the north, the province of the Minho, in a town called Braga, and there the university has a ceremony called Enterro da Gata, the burial of the cat. And Enterro da Gata is apparently, as well as its literal meaning, it means either flunking an exam, that is failing it, or passing it. I can't remember which. The Enterro da Gata that I've encountered started with the body of the cat. I think this is a metaphorical cat rather than the real cat, being flown from Lisbon to Porto, then being taken by train from Porto to Braga. The train journey is about an hour. If you're English, think Oxford, Paddington. And then being carried on a bier, that's B-I-E-R, into the railway station, where people would sort of wave altar candles at it. Braga is, well, Portugal's Catholic. Braga is very Catholic, and it's full of shops selling articles religiosos, religious articles, including altar candles. So students and others would welcome the cat or honour the cat as it got off the train with altar candles. And then there would be a number of events. The cat would be paraded through the old central squares in the city. The president of the student union or some rough equivalent would give a speech about the past year's events in which he'd say suitably rude things about various people. There'd be minstrels dancing. The university there takes folk traditions more seriously than we do, and they still have minstrels, troubadours, tunish, that's the word, and they still have traditional folk dancing, and a lot of people enroll in the societies that keep these going. So there'd be minstrels, there'd be folk dancing, there'd be scurrilous orations, and at some stage in the evening there'd be a ceremonial burial of the cat somewhere in the corner of one of the city squares. I think it's Campo da Vigna. Now I must say, given Braga's somewhat medieval-looking architecture, that does give me because I've been lucky enough to see it, that does give me quite a clear mental image of what the Act in Oxford might have been like, and what it could still be like if it survived, which it doesn't. Encaenia is the remaining tidied up, sanitised remnant. One thing that I read when I was looking up information for today is that the Act was responsible for the Sheldonian Theatre being built. Sheldonian is now where the university holds all its degree ceremonies, as well as assorted concerts and other events, and matriculation, which is the ceremony you undergo when you get welcomed into the university. The Act used to be held in St Mary's Church, which is the big university church down at the other end of Cat Street, bordering the High Street. And the university eventually felt that it was just unsuitable to do so, to hold such a ceremony in the church, because of the nature of Terrae Philus's speeches. And there was another possible element. Apparently the undergraduates of the time were terribly rowdy, partly because of the satirical element of the speeches, and partly because the Act was much more open than Encaenia is now, and you've got musical players and other itinerants coming to watch it or even to take part. And that encouraged all sorts of rowdiness. So the Sheldonian was built, according to what I've read, specifically to move Encaenia, or move the Act away from the church. And that worked as far as it went, but the undergraduates continued to be rowdy, and this continued to worry the university. And eventually they reformed Encaenia, and then a bit later they banned undergraduates. I think accepted undergraduate behaviour must have been very different then. It would be interesting to read some stories of the time. Anyway, that is Encaenia 2024. I'll see you next time.